So as usual, Megalobox is an emotional roller coaster. Joe's arc over this season has been spectacular, and that cliffhanger, of course. I mean, we've all been thinking it, seemingly, that Joe will end up dead by the end of the season, though I did see some speculation about the idea that the chip that's inside our boy Mac's head might actually be the saving grace for someone like Joe, whose body is clearly shutting down from substance abuse and a ridiculous amount of pain that he endured over the course of Season 1 going up against people who had gear as he was fighting gearless. And, I mean, the extra oomph to those punches is sure to do some damage. So, it would be interesting if rather than Joe ending up dead, if someone like Mac died in the ring instead because of a malfunction. Maybe the chip and things like that gets repurposed, maybe it can be used to save Joe's life, or maybe we're building up to a very classic death in this series. It's hard to say, but, I mean, from how much he abused substances and drugs and painkillers, to alcohol, to the amount of pain he endured, I'm not surprised that he passed out in a life-threatening way, seemingly, and it'll be interesting to see where they're gonna go. At first I was kind of questioning if maybe it was more of like a PTSD thing, like he was walking away, so maybe he was scared that Sachio was leaving again. But the more I thought of it, the more I thought that was unlikely, because Sachio and him clearly made amends, they're good, they're back together. I don't see why that would trigger, so it makes way more sense given what we saw him do at the beginning of this season, and how much pain he endured in last season. I mean, I bring it up a lot, but I mean, the dude was pissing blood by the end of Season 1. There's a lot of internal damage done to him, so while of course he's going to use Chief's gear in that match, I don't think he's going to be Gearless Joe versus Mac. His body can't handle it. I think this will probably be his reason to put on the gear for sure. Him probably wanting to build up to being Gearless Joe, but his body can't take it anymore, so he puts on Chief's gear and he goes into the ring as a new fighter, and it'll be interesting to see where they take it. But this episode was absolutely incredible. Building up the match, something we knew was going to happen, and I've been very fearful of this match, because while Mac as a person is a good person, the chip and the people behind him are manipulating what was built for military into someone who could very well kill more and more people, including those that he loves. So I don't blame Mac, I blame the shit that's in his head and how he's been manipulated into doing things. But the fact that he actually has a healthy obsession over Joe, someone who inspired him back in the day, and wants to be able to go up against someone who inspired pretty much every modern boxer in this world. And Joe, of course, has no reason to accept it, but over the course of it, from having Lou saying, you know, you have to, it'd be unfair. Of course, you know you want to do it. Someone like Yuri having no interest in Joe anymore, as he's still blaming himself. Like, all these different characters and their self-blaming attitudes, and how it, over the course of this episode, clearly builds up to what we all know is going to happen. Yuri going to help train Joe fight in the ring. Joe needing someone like Sachio once again back by his side, as Joe accepts who he is, and that is a selfish person. He admits in this episode that it wasn't really about getting the money for his surgery, it was more about proving that even when Pops is gone, they will still have a fire in their belly and they'll be able to push on. And when that didn't happen, you know, everything kind of fell apart and he ran away. Because had he won that match or anything else, he probably wouldn't have took Sachio's words to heart. He would have proved to Sachio that they can carry on. And I like how when you really re-examine the past flashbacks, and I like how they incorporated them into this episode, seeing why Joe refused to go see Pops in the hospital, why he, you know, got back up after being defeated, begging to have the match carry on. For him, losing was not an option, and once it did, he abandoned everything because he just couldn't handle the truth. And it's very interesting to see all the characters slowly but surely go back to that Season 1 era. We should help Joe train. What about Sachio? Sachio is still trying to be a fighter, and the fact that some just let him go in the ring, not because they ever believed, but because they thought it'd be a good coping mechanism. The fact that the man who's been responsible for these fights at the very end of the episode says, you know, I couldn't do much, but hopefully, Nanbu, I took care of Sachio for you, because he didn't push him away, he didn't discourage him. He always tried to say, let's have fixed matches, I'll give you the money. But I like how all the characters who you might take things at face value, they always become something a little bit more. Some more than others, but they all end up becoming something. It's always more than meets the eye, right? I mean, the fact that we have brother and sister, brother publishing the piece, basically slamming them, even though it will cost him his job and funding for the school. Sister saying, I'm fine with our profits being cut in 50%. Well, everyone else is not okay with that because we've already done that when we cut off use for military. If we do this again, she's probably going to be ousted as president of the company, right? So there's a lot of different things happening. as they're trying to investigate and find proof that this isn't good, as we're building up to a match that is going to have at least one death, maybe two. I really, really hope that Joe gets to make it out of the season, even if we don't get a season 3. I would love it if Joe ended up surviving. But will Joe's death work for a narrative purpose? Absolutely. I just hope that if he does end up going out, that, you know, all the past has been left behind and everyone can view him as he once was, you know, the champion Joe who cared about his friends and family. And it'll be interesting to see where they're going to take it. But I mean, this was an emotional roller coaster. The fight was incredible. I honestly thought it was going to be a one-punch fight between Sachio and Joe. I really thought that's how it was going to be. But the fact that, you know, Sachio, like Joe, kept getting back up even when he knew he was defeated. And rather than ending the fight in a knockout KO, he hugged him. Because he's finally there for him again, saying, please, step out of that ring. This isn't where you belong. You know where you belong. His original dream before Joe left was to be an engineer like Pops. He doesn't need to do this, and I think this was the first step in trying to push someone who's been had a hard head, a thick skull, and this is the first time. And I mean, if we see Joe in the hospital starting next week, I will be a very sad person. That's the best way to put it. But I mean, Megalobox is incredibly underappreciated. If we ever get a season 3 and it's even more underappreciated than this masterpiece of a season, the anime community and me are going to have some words. Like, this show is incredible, and season 2 alone is enough to claim that the franchise is a masterpiece for its 2 seasons. But combined with the experience of season 1, like, this is absolutely insane, and it'll be interesting to see where episodes 11, 12, and 13 are going to go. 2 months to prepare, 2 months to hopefully get his body recovered somewhat, use gear to compensate for whatever is happening, maybe fix it so certain, because if they examine his body and they find there's a lot of damage, like, internally, maybe they'll reformat the gear, because his gear is already focused on defense, but maybe there'll be certain things that they can do to really help it so his body doesn't shut down mid-fight, but I guess we'll see. I'm also not sure whose idea it was to have that ending song be the ending song, but every single time the episode wraps up and you hear that slow ending song build up as you have something that just screams pain and slight hope, it almost always makes me want to cry. That shit's absolutely amazing. And when they were building up the more, I think, Joe theme, you know, that, oh my god, Joe's about to step back in the ring, they're at Nambu's grave, and you just kind of feel inspired. Music has always been a crucial factor on why this show's so incredible. And I'm really glad that Season 1 soundtrack wasn't a fluke and Season 2 can match it and even surpass it in certain ways while doing something completely and vastly different. Like, seriously, go listen to some of the tracks that Season 2 have been made for, and then go listen to some of the Season 1. It's night and day, but they still feel like they're holding hands in harmony, as if this is one soundtrack over 2 incredible seasons. Like, I can seriously gush about the OST and Megalobox for hours upon end, and I've done so on this channel before, but like, seriously, this is absolutely incredible on a production level, and thank God the written level is just as good. 10 out of 10 as always. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, your favorite moment, and where do you think it's going to go next week. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you're happy new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.